What is going on, investors? Hopefully, guys are doing well out there. Time to pick up the story of a Coinbase, ticker symbol COIN. Now, speaking of COIN, you've made it with Coinbase year to date. Shares are up 26%. Stretch it out to a year, and you're up a whopping 328%. I think the questions a lot of people have on their mind, is Coinbase still a good investment? Also, we have to wonder, is this simply just a proxy for Bitcoin prices? Can we invest in Coinbase versus buying Bitcoin, vice versa? Which one performs better in different types of scenarios? We'll answer that question. Then obviously as well, we'll get into the Q1 numbers as they came in, and they were actually pretty darn good. We'll look at the balance sheet, the cash flows, and the operating statement for Coinbase. And then we'll also look at this technically, as it's really done everything since becoming public back in 2021. It's gone on a major downtrend. It formed a bottoming formation, and then it's gone on a monster rally. So we'll discuss what is next for Coinbase. Now, like we said, shares have actually performed very, very well. And I remember doing videos of this company when it first became public, when crypto was really, really red hot, very similar to the market is now. This company performs beautifully. It's one of the best investments I think you could possibly have when crypto is going well. And we see that revenue coming in at over $1.64 billion. That was 112% growth year over year, and it even beat expectations by over $300 million. And this is all on the backs of, you can look at the chart of Bitcoin or pretty much any crypto out there, and it's absolutely been flying. Earnings coming in at a massive $4.40 per share. That beat expectations by over $3. So that is one thing that is tricky about Coinbase is oftentimes when we're looking at companies, we're comparing it based on Wall Street estimates. Wall Street essentially sets a target for a lot of companies, and then it's a matter of maybe coming up just underneath that target in terms of guidance. And then when you report, you're over. And so you can kind of announce this kind of like beat and raise type environment. Well, it's tricky for Coinbase because if crypto goes under and goes on a big losing streak, well, all of a sudden everybody loses interest in it and the company's earnings and their revenue starts to shrivel up. So it's very difficult to project this company's financials. And you see it a little bit in terms of Wall Street revisions. Over the past couple of years, they've had to revise down, and then as crypto made a recovery, they revised these things up, and it's really a dance. And I don't think anybody has a clear sense of where Coinbase will land. Now, one thing that we have to keep in mind is the price of Coinbase is tied a little bit to the price of crypto. Here's a one-year chart. The blue line is the price of Bitcoin, and the orange line is the price of Coinbase. I would say in a bull market for crypto, Coinbase is like a leveraged play to the upside. In other words, Coinbase is going to outperform the performance of crypto, especially on the heels of a bear market for crypto and a bear market for Coinbase shares. If shares go on a massive downturn and then all of a sudden crypto prices rebound, well, Coinbase is going to completely outperform. And we've seen over the last year, Bitcoin's up 105%, but Coinbase is up over 300%. Now, you stretch this out to a slightly longer time frame, and it doesn't paint the same story. So I think longer term, I think you're holding crypto. If you're a crypto guy or girl, you're holding crypto, and that's kind of your buy and hold investment. But I think what you can do with Coinbase is play the upside. And so when you get these massive bull markets that appear in the crypto market, well, that I think is when you play Coinbase. But you've got to know how to get out, because this one will dramatically underperform and you'll be left holding crypto, which will be declining in value. And then you'll be left holding Coinbase, which will be even more rapidly declining. And so this is a stock, in my opinion, is not, at least at the current time, is not a buy and hold, quote, forever type of stock. This is one where you play the pops to the upside and then you try to avoid the major downswings, which inevitably happen in a stock that's involved in the sector it's in. But here's the deal. I tell you what, if you get any length of time, not necessarily a bull market in crypto, but if it can stabilize in price, that might be something that's difficult to do or maybe inherently not possible with crypto. This company is beautifully set up financially. They've got a mountain of cash on the balance sheet. Now, they have these massive line items on their balance sheet, but most of it has to do with their, quote, safeguarding customer crypto assets. Now, this is also a liability as well, as you recognize it here on the asset side, but then you have to balance it off since it's not your money unless you want to be like FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. But it also is a liability in the fact that man, if crypto gets stolen or if this somehow somebody is able to hack the system, I'm certainly not smart enough to understand if that's something that is probable or could potentially happen. Well, you've got a massive amount of assets here that could get wiped out. And if those assets get touched, well, needless to say, Coinbase would be in bad shape. In fact, they'd be like almost every other crypto exchange we've seen, from Mt. Gox to FTX. But here's the deal. When things are good, this company's financials are spectacular. Revenue coming in at that $1.6 billion. That was, again, 112% growth over last year, where you made just $736 million. They've done a very nice job over the last year controlling their technology and development costs from $358 actually flat and down just slightly. Despite the massive revenue jump, you are not seeing increases in technology and development. We saw some uptick in sales and marketing, as that is a wise thing to do. If you're this company and crypto's on fire, you probably should do a little sales and marketing. Your general administrative, though, remained relatively flat. So look at your total operating expenses over the last year, from $896 down to $877. There were some restructuring charges and some impairment assets and charges that didn't reoccur year over year. So you actually saw operating expenses decline. So you swung from a negative $123 million loss last year. And this is, again, why this is a stock I would be more or less in and out of. You swung from a negative all the way to a positive, but who's to say? Nobody knows for certain. Whereas we can look at companies like Apple and Microsoft and obviously project out into next year with some degree of certainty. Literally nobody has any idea if this company is going to be able to put up $760 million of operating income or $76 million of losses next year. No one's really certain. Now you flow down to their net income. It's impacted by the fact that they have crypto assets on their balance sheet and they have to recognize the unrealized gain. Very similar to like if you're a homeowner and if you bought your house 10 years ago, you have an unrealized gain on your house. Well, you might feel that a little bit as a person, but you don't have to recognize that on your taxes necessarily, although some states I think you have to from a property tax perspective. Coinbase has to do that here, and so their net income very much positively impacted by the fact that they operated the business and earned $760 million, but holding that crypto asset was even better. They earned nearly $1.5 billion. I would judge this company on the operating income, but like I said, nobody knows what the market of crypto is going to do over the next year, and if it's good, this company is going to do great. If it's bad, this company's probably going to struggle. Net income of $1.1 billion. Cash flows probably another way. You can either analyze this company from operating income or come down here and analyze it from operating cash flows, because you strip out that gain on those crypto investments. Not that that's a bad thing, but you have to strip that out until they actually realize those gains. And you had operating cash flows actually go down. It's interesting, over the last year from 463 down to 411, but that is relatively consistent. They don't do a lot from an investing side. They don't have to invest a lot in property, plant, and equipment or anything like that like we're seeing with other companies. Now they are continuing to raise money with the issue of a convertible note, and that's why you've seen over the last year cash and cash equivalents increased mightily by nearly $10 billion. So the company has plenty of cash to survive kind of the ups and downs. Their operating profit and their net income really takes a hit, and certainly their earnings per share or their EPS is going to take a massive hit when crypto has another downturn. But what I saw here was that their operating cash flows actually aren't impacted as much by that, since you strip out that gain in crypto, and a lot of the expenses that they realize here on the operating statement actually are stock-based compensation, or at least a portion of them are. Now, from a technical perspective, MicroTrend is absolutely beautiful, folks. Higher highs, higher lows, and it is steep. Oftentimes what you see with these very, very steep uptrends, you can pull up a chart of like Netflix, maybe even like Meta. They want to flatten out. So we'll probably experience a break of this upper trend. That's not necessarily a complete break of trend. Obviously, if you have something more catastrophic happen in the Bitcoin world, certainly that halving event has impacted the economics of mining. And so that's something that could have maybe a more shorter term impact. But where I would not want to see Coinbase break down is actually these lows down here at 119. I know that's a long ways away, $100. But again, these types of stocks, crypto stocks, they're not for the faint of heart. If you're a retiree or you're an income investor, you're avoiding this. If you're posting on Reddit, you got a Robinhood account and you're part of the YOLO crowd, this is exactly the kind of stock that you want. You don't want to see this one get below 119. You get one below 119, and honestly, you could probably cut it a little sooner than that. Maybe like 140, 150. I'd be out of this one. I'd be on the sidelines because that could potentially mean just instead of reversing trend, we are starting a new trend, and that would be lower. But I think more likely is if the crypto market remains strong, we could flatten out our uptrend and we could hit slightly more consolidating sideways to up. The other reason why I believe that is you did hit overhead resistance on shares up here at 280 and firmly got rejected. And despite the results the company has put up yesterday, shares of Coinbase are down nearly 4%, continuing the consolidation pattern that we're seeing. My recommendation would be hands off on this one. If you break this level, that is right here where the shares are right now at 220, you are likely to see lower prices. That is where I would take my first stab at this one. I'd like to get this one at like 130, 140 with a stop loss at 120. So I'm only risking $10 per share with upside back into the 200s. You're playing $10 downside, $100 upside. That's how you win with a stock like this. You certainly don't win by holding this stock, as eventually you're probably going to get wiped out by a downturn in crypto. And there's always that risk that the assets under custody are at risk, similar to how you've seen at Mt. Gox, similar to how you've seen at other exchanges, and similar to how you saw at FTX. I trust the management and I trust Coinbase, but people trusted Sam Bankman-Fried as well. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed today's video. We'll be back later today for the Fang Stock Recap Show. Thanks for all the support that we've had during earnings season. We'll certainly keep it moving right along. Thanks again.